Speak bold, ain't tripping on the haters. It could take freedom from a cold dead hands. We're locked and loaded for the last dance. 'Cause we're the new American gangsters, ready to die for this land.
Well, hello.
How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. You had a good couple weeks.
I did. A lot of stuff going on
Yeah, you
in
guys.
the country, huh?
You guys had a good show last week. I partook of it. Yeah, but there's a lot of shit going down. Yeah.
You know what's interesting is speaking of our show last week, we got a little criticism that there was some stuff inaccurate in that show, but nobody's pointed out any specific facts. So I'm still open to the challenge if somebody wants to, let us know. We always want to get it right?
Yeah.
So if we get it wrong, we'll fix it.
That was that 50s chick, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't want to throw any shade or publicity. She seems to be, she strikes me as somebody that, if she can't be the boss, then she's just gonna throw cold water all over you, and publicly try to humiliate you and make you look wrong. But she doesn't really seem to have any facts to support her argument. In fact, on Twitter, I asked her, what are some of the facts? Show us. Just don't. I mean, you're going to come out and criticize your fellow Republicans. And this has always really sort of tweaked me about your party, your Republican Party, because I'm not, a registered Republican. Not saying what my registration is, but the Republican Party seems to like to eat its own, right? And that's where the Republican Party is sort of different than the Democratic Party. They sort of have more adhesion.
Yeah, and there's different reasons for that. I mean, sometimes it's just because it's, I believe, comprised of a body of a lot of free thinkers.
Right.
And that's not always a bad thing.
Right.
It's when it gets into if I can't be the one or I can't be right, then nobody's right kind of attitude that's it's difficult. And again, we always do our best here on We the People podcast and as an organization to really vet our information to make sure it's accurate. We spend a lot of time talking to workers and people that are involved in the processes, along with doing research. So if we get it wrong, we'll be the first ones to come out and admit that we got it wrong. So we're always willing for somebody to say, hey, look at this piece of evidence or information. You had that wrong. And we'll correct the record for sure. So, but we're still waiting.
Has she come out and said anything that you guys got wrong?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, we're still waiting.
Okay. Hey, 50s chick, still waiting. Give us an update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Let us know if we're wrong. We'll own it, but show us how we're wrong. Point it out, and we'll make an effort.
We're open. We're open for public debate.
Absolutely.
But it should be debate upon the facts, right? It shouldn't just be throwing mud on the wall. And so I'm not trying to throw mud on the wall on 50s chick. What I'm trying to do is say, hey, 50s chick, let's talk about the issue, right? Why don't you bring your facts out and we can discuss those in a rational, articulate manner.
Right. Let's have some honest dialogue.
Right.
Honest open dialogue.
That would be refreshing, wouldn't
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what about the government shutdown, Brian?
Well, I think it was pretty cool myself.
Yeah, it was quite interesting.
Yeah. The Democrats thought, that they were going to do what they did during Trump's first term. You know when the second longest government shutdown was?
I believe I heard it was in the 70s, right? It was like 1976, wasn't it, under Carter?
Trump's first term.
Oh, really?
I believe was the longest government shutdown up until this government shutdown, right?
Okay.
And so if you look at the totality of, the Democrats, they're so crazed anti-Trump that, they will do anything to try to bolster their position. Now, in Trump's first administration, he had a bunch of deep state hacks working for him. And so they won. The Democrats won,
Right.
and they made Trump look bad.
Didn't work out so well for them this time around.
well for
No,
them.
no.
They didn't get anything this second government shutdown, other than showing the American public that maybe we got so much government that we don't need some of that government, right?
Well, and they also showed that they're willing to put their political interests above the American people.
Right.
I know a family member of mine, without getting too personal in my private life, but one of my family members, him and his coworkers and friends were heavily affected by the government shutdown.
Right.
And there were a lot of families that were really concerned about how they were going to feed their kids and pay their bills. And, what were they fighting for? Even mainstream media, people in mainstream media were coming out and saying, this is actually an honest and fair continuation. Right. There was nothing added to it or any real takeaways that should have created concern for them, but they were fighting for, illegal health care and things like that. And they were willing to let the American people suffer.
They're fighting for more than that. They're fighting for, people like your attorney general. What the heck is her name?
Chris Mays.
Chris Mays. Right. For her ability to grandstand by suing the Trump administration and going in and saying, we're going to oppose Trump. And, he's trying to starve Arizona families. But Arizona voters should look at their two senators. Did either of Arizona's two senators come out and vote for? Were they part of the 60?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
No, they opposed 100%.
They stood party line instead of putting what the American people needed first. But the good news is there were some sensible Democrats that either decided they were tired of their people suffering or they were tired of dropping in the polls. Whatever their reasoning is, we're very grateful that they came across the line to get the government reopened. And now we're just waiting for a final vote. So it did come out of the Senate. And we should know something, hopefully, this weekend, very soon, as to whether or not we can officially say the government's reopened.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard, it's not going to be done until Wednesday, but
it could be.
But that being said, it's interesting. There was one court case that I believe where the judge came out and ordered the Trump administration to take money from the school nutrition program to fund SNAP. Right. And so now we've created a situation where these lawsuits by people like Mays, where we have the judiciary actually deciding what is to be budgeted.
Right. It wasn't bad enough that our judicial system is legislating from the bench and that they've partaken in partisan hack type behavior. Now we have them deciding how we spend our tax dollars. So it's really scary, to be honest, that the separation of powers have just not been honored.
Right. Well, and if I recall correctly, the U.S. Supreme Court came out and said, sorry, no.
Yeah.
If the money's not budgeted by Congress, which has the authority to do that, right? They tell the executive branch how much money they have to spend on whatever programs they have. And if the money's not budgeted, then there's nothing to spend, right? They can't compel the president to spend money he doesn't have.
They need a refresher on third grade civics, Brian.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think most people teach civics anymore.
Yeah, well, that's the unfortunate part because I think the whole separation of power thing has gotten lost in translation in the last few decades. But what about Maricopa County?
Well,
they do a really good job of running elections in Maricopa County.
They do. And I have a whole theory about this.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit before the show, but
well, let's tell everybody what is the theory about? Well, what happened
about finding ballots after the fact, right? Finding ballots after the fact,
many days after the fact, right?
And
like multiple days.
It also they found the ballots with inadequate time for the Maricopa County recorder to have them cured, their signatures cured. Isn't that correct?
Well, yes. Recorder Heap actually went on Conservative Circus this morning, did, I thought, a pretty good job of an interview.
Yeah.
And he said that they got him Friday
Right.
and they whipped through signature verification.
Uh-huh.
They went through his double check process.
Right.
And then they pushed him into curing, but they literally only had hours. And for that reason, many ballots didn't get cured. And if any of
Right.
them were legitimate votes, then those votes
Right.
are lost.
Right. And this is part of what former recorder Richer left the residents of Maricopa County was an election, department and a board of supervisors who he collaborated with on their way out the door. It's an election department that's designed to fail, right? And so his rationale for doing that, I don't know. I have a question. I have a deep, burning question.
About the ballot.
Now, is States United still involved in our elections through the Board of Supervisors?
That's a really good question. And if they would
Uh-huh.
actually comply with some public records, maybe we would find
Right.
out. But,
Right.
here's the issue. So if we go with the theory that we believe, and I think we've
Mhm.
proven in previous shows, and that is that States United has had a heavy influence on the Board of Supervisors
Right.
and the Elections Department and its workers for a
Uh-huh.
consistent period of time. What
Yeah.
has changed, Brian? I mean, Scott
Yeah.
Jarrett is still running those elections. The
Right.
same director that
Mhm.
has failed election after election,
Right.
right? He's still running the election. So
Right.
let's just pretend for a minute that poof, States United
Mhm.
went away, which we know it did
Right.
not. And we'll get into that more next week. But let's just pretend they did. The influence that they have had, we have the same players. It's
Right.
the same incompetence over and over again.
Mhm.
And to this day, nobody's been held accountable.
Nobody will be held accountable either. I don't know what's going on with your Board of Supervisors. A lot of them are replacement Board of Supervisors because the old board was either voted out or decided to leave before they were voted out, right?
Right.
And it's almost like the old Board of Supervisors is still governing Maricopa County. And
Well,
so,
You
know,
got
with,
to ask why, right?
with your elections department, I mean, Ray Valenzuela, I mean, he's on the left. He's way, way, way more distant politically from me than anybody else I would know in the elections department.
But
I'm assuming.
we can't hang this on him, right? We can't
can't.
hang any of
No.
this on him nor the recorder's office.
But my point is, he was demoted.
Yeah.
He was effectively publicly demoted when they turned over the entirety of the election operations to Scott Jarrett. And I remember watching, a couple of years ago, video of Scott Jarrett preparing for his testimony. He's literally pulling his hair out. Right?
Oh, he ran off
Yeah.
the stage. As a matter of fact, Steve, I'm going to
Uh-huh.
send you that video because I think it's great. Let me pull that up.
Uh-huh.
But that's just it. Scott Jarrett got hired in 2018.
Uh-huh.
That's when Scott Jarrett came out of the financial auditing world and
Right.
decided he was an election expert, right?
Right.
And so they brought Scott Jarrett on then. Correct if somebody wants to correct me if I'm wrong, I'm estimating here, but I am pretty confident Ray Valenzuela has been involved in and or a director of elections for at least 20 years
Oh,
in Maricopa County.
Yeah.
And he gets demoted under Scott Jarrett.
I think his testimony showed well over 2 decades worth of experience with Maricopa County elections.
Right. And I think
Right.
the only way up for Ray at this point, if he doesn't, go into an elected office, would be
Uh-huh.
to take Scott Jarrett's job. And I think they're making sure that never happens.
Probably. Yeah.
I'm going to find that video, but
Mhm.
this isn't the first time that ballots just happen to
No, not at all.
appear post-election in Maricopa County, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a history.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that history?
You got a call in 2024, right?
Yes.
Hey, shit, we found a bunch of ballots. How many ballots?
I don't recall what the final number was last year, 2024, but I want to say it was significant. It may have
Yeah.
been in double digit, like
Right.
somewhere around 12,000, I
Yeah.
believe 12,000
12,000.
ballots. It was an entire rack.
12,000.
Yes, it was
Yeah,
around 12,000.
That would change the results of many potential elections, wasn't it?
Yeah, almost
Yeah.
every single election in
And
2024.
this is a shout out to the Department of Justice and any U.S. attorneys who might be watching, or anybody that knows any U.S. attorneys that might want to partake in this. But 2018, Maricopa County suddenly materialized 18,000 plus ballots after Election Day, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. And that was enough to change the outcome of the presidential election, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
referring to 2020, right?
2020. I'm
Right.
2020. Yeah.
2020. Yes.
Yeah.
There was
And
over
so,
18,000. Some would argue more.
yeah.
I actually believe there was more
Right.
because there were several ballots that didn't necessarily appear after Election Day,
Uh-huh.
but they were shoved in late on Election Day that
Uh-huh.
really have no appropriate chain of custody.
Right.
But if we just stick with the raw facts of the great work
Right.
that Heather Honey did
Uh-huh.
and all of her analysis of the chain of custody, then we can narrow it down to at least
Right.
18,000 that for sure have no origin.
At least, yeah. Well, more than 18, because I think her total, the chain of custody documents they hid from us originally, I
Right.
think show about 20,000.
Right.
Right. Were pumped in after Election Day. And so, what I think this is all about, I mean, there's one word for it, right? What you want to, if you want to get people used to something, what do? You condition them,
Right. Absolutely.
right? And so you condition them. You say, oh yeah, but these ballots, they're all legitimate. They've all been under our control.
Right.
But in this instance, that happened in this election cycle. This was a jurisdictional election, right? Local elections.
It was local
Yeah.
elections. I mean, there was some candidates on the ballot. Some
Right.
of them were just propositions and
Right.
bond initiatives, but
Uh-huh.
there were candidates on the ballot in
Right.
some districts.
Yeah, but this is conditioning, straight up
Yes.
100% conditioning. Now Maricopa County, I believe, Board of Supervisors is defending. Oh, they were at MC Tech all the time, the whole time, right?
Well, they've
So we
changed
had
their story
right,
3 times
right,
because the first story made people really outraged, and
uh-huh,
then the second story softened it a little more, and
right,
then the third story made it look like,
right,
you know, somebody accidentally kicked
uh-huh,
it under a coffee table and that it was
right,
no big deal, right? So
right,
we don't know what the truth is, and
yeah,
that's the problem here.
right,
And we have a county recorder that we elected
hmm,
for this, and even the county recorder at this point
right,
is asking the board of supervisors, how does this happen?
right. How does it happen? And it happens because we have completely centralized our elections. We rely on bureaucrats to run them instead of focusing on allowing the people to run their own elections like we used to, right? But it's conditioning, right?
Absolutely.
If you want to condition people to a certain chain of events, that then you can say, "Oh, this is perfectly legitimate. We've had the ballots all the time." Because what did they do in 2020, right? After we broke the story, they came out and said, "Oh yeah, we got these ballots late." Well, they admitted they violated the law, right? And so they
Absolutely.
changed their story, didn't they?
Right.
And so Maricopa County has this history of doing this improper stuff and then changing their story to try to make it jive with the law, to make the public think that, oh, everything's kosher, everything is fine with these ballots. We've had them the whole time, right?
Well, but here's the question that people need to ask themselves, and
Hmm.
this is a true appeal, especially to anybody listening to this show that has been a skeptic of election shenanigans. Maybe you
Hmm.
don't believe there's election fraud. Maybe you buy the theory that Maricopa runs some of the best elections in the
Right.
country. My question is, if they found these 2 bins of ballots
Hmm.
on a Friday, election day is Tuesday, so that's what? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Tuesday.
So they
Oh.
find ballots 3 days after
Uh-huh.
election day. We still don't know how it happened.
Uh-huh.
So we don't know how the ballots weren't there on election day. But if that can happen,
Hmm.
wouldn't any sane, rational person say it might be possible there were other bins of ballots
Right.
that never made it to MTech?
Right.
Maybe my vote didn't actually count.
Hmm.
And with this, I want to put forward a reminder to people when you go to the Ballot Ready website,
Right.
and it tells you that your ballot was received, I want people to understand that it does not mean that the ballot was received at MTech because it gets scanned at Runback. So
Hmm.
even if you get that little text message and that alert, those ballots are still floating around in other spaces and they haven't quite made it to the tabulator,
Right.
right? So, and
Hmm.
then once they get signature verified and approved, then they're flagged as your vote will count,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But your vote's not counted
Right.
yet, right? So people get this false sense of security by reading these different, text messages. Oh, but my vote counted.
Right.
But but did it really?
Right.
Did it really? And
Hmm.
I just think people need to start asking more questions
Hmm.
and understand that these are not small mistakes. I mean, there was how many ballots in those bins?
Um,
2,300,
I,
right?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
Enough to change, I think, the outcome of some of the races,
absolutely. I
and
mean,
that's yeah,
2,300 ballots.
and that's part of the problem.
Mhm.
Is really, now Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. It's funny. It's funny the games they play, right? Justin Heap came out and said, "This is the story I got," and then the elections department's putting out a different story, right?
Right.
What's the story, right? We got video. Let's look at the video, and let's see who's right. And just because these, I mean, they say the numbers match, whatever, you know, who knows? The numbers match the forms. Were the forms found with the ballots, or were the forms turned in by somebody else and they were stored separately? Who
Who
knows?
knows, right? That information hasn't
Right,
come out yet.
right,
Then that's another question for what kind of process
right.
requires you to count the number of ballots received at a poll center,
Uh-huh,
yet you can run an election and
uh-huh.
somehow miss 2,300 ballots?
Right,
Aren't we kind of defeating the purpose there, Brian,
right.
and counting them at the poll center?
100%.
you
And
know?
the legislature specifically delegated that task by statute to
Mhm.
the Board of Supervisors because neither Adrian Fontes nor Stephen Richer were actually maintaining chain of custody of those ballots at vote centers, right?
Well, they were estimating,
They were
Brian.
estimating. And when you estimate, the same problem happens, doesn't it? Who
Absolutely.
knows how many ballots we have? So you could jump a whole bunch of ballots into the system if you want to. But when you're able just to come up with, oh, hey, we found these ballots, that's a huge problem. Yeah. So that's a huge problem.
Well, it's funny. It's like 1.9 million people
Yeah.
showed up to vote on election day, Brian. I
Right.
mean, give or take
Right.
a couple thousand or so,
Right.
right? Would anybody be happy with that answer?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
we
I would hope not.
estimate we
Yeah.
estimate based on our
Right.
documents that
Uh-huh.
these are the results.
Right.
But, we have a margin of error that's
Right.
okay.
Yeah. It's fine. Trust us. Don't worry about it. We're from the
Right.
government and we're here to help. Right. And so trust us. Right. And so,
So Steve has that Scott Jarrett video. Should we play it?
yeah,
This
go ahead.
this is
But,
great. And this is a little shorter clip
hmm
than the Fool, but go ahead, Steve. Play that video.
wow. He just walked off, huh?
He,
Is somebody, I want to,
I can't do this.
I
I
can't
can't
hear
do
it. I
this.
can't hear it.
Oh, okay. So so in the video, he starts stuttering. And he's trying to give the election plan,
Uh
and he
huh.
starts stuttering, and then he says, I can't do this," and he walks away from the press conference,
Uh huh.
and then Board of Supervisor Clint Hickman at the time, he he jumps in after that video and he
Oh,
says, "We're all under a lot of pressure here."
yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all, and all I could think when I
Right.
saw this video, and remember
Uh huh.
this is before 2020,
Right.
okay? But it was
Uh-huh.
after 2018, and I
Right.
knew how bad it was in 2018. But
Right.
all I could think is, what did they tell him to say
Right.
that made him so uncomfortable
Right.
that he
Well,
lost it?
that was
You
almost
know?
like when we were watching him do that, prep. It was like, they were telling him the
Right.
things that he was very uncomfortable with. He looked to be very uncomfortable
Yes.
with his testimony that he had given that day in court and what he was going to say the next.
Absolutely. He was heavily coached and very uncomfortable with his
He
own
he
words.
he couldn't walk away from the witness.
Right. He was stuck there.
I
So,
suppose he could have. Yeah.
well, that
But
would have gone over well.
yeah. But what's interesting is all of this now that's sort of coming to fruition, you know, plays directly into what's coming out with regard to, for example, J6,
Yeah.
right? Did you see that they believe they've got 94 to 98% certainty that they've identified the J6 bomber and that or the pipe bomber, the person who left the pipe bombs at the Republican Party and the Democratic Party headquarters on J6?
Let me guess. It wasn't a staunch MAGA supporter.
Nah.
No.
No, they're saying she was a DC police officer on J6. And she would, they got photographs of her shooting people in the head with paintball guns, just having a good old time.
You mean it
Um,
wasn't a middle-aged white male?
No, no,
Oh,
no.
interesting.
Yeah. And it turns out, guess who she went to work for shortly after J6?
I'm gonna take a wild guess.
Uh-huh.
Joe Biden?
No, the
No.
Central Intelligence Agency.
Oh, that's even better.
The CIA.
That's
Yeah,
even better.
yeah. And so it's interesting because everybody we've said for a long time that something is beeping, and I think it's your phone or my phone.
It's my phone.
Quit
I need-
beeping in my ear,
Let
Shelby.
me, let me turn my notifications off.
I got to do the same thing here.
But no,
'Cause mine's
that-
on too, so I think mine's bugging me as well.
It's
But-
fascinating,
Yeah.
right? It's actually really fascinating how truth will come out if you
Right.
just look for it.
Yeah, truth will come out if you look for it. And so the FBI obviously never looked for this person because I'm guessing they knew who she was. I'm guessing Nancy Pelosi knew who she was because the finding of the pipe bombs is actually, I believe, the event that led to the stoppage of the vote counting and moving everybody, all the members of Congress, out of the chambers, right?
Right.
And they were using that then as the basis to attack Trump and his supporters.
Right.
And so,
So this, what you're saying,
Right.
Brian, is this big insurrection
Mhm.
was done by the DC cop?
Right. Well, it was done by the DC insiders,
Right.
including who she went to work for, the CIA, which I've been saying for a very long period of time. And then, did you also see that they've got actual? We watched all of these federal government workers, right, doing all of these video group chats where they were talking about how to,
Yes.
how to thwart the Trump administration and how to not give him what he wants and make him look bad and all
Right.
this
Delay,
Right.
delay, call in
Right.
sick
Right.
over and over, make
Right.
intentional mistakes.
stuff. Yeah, intentional errors.
And
big time.
it was literally feds for democracy.
Right.
So these were federal workers
Uh-huh.
discussing how they could sabotage the Trump administration while
Right.
being paid by the American taxpayer.
And so it's my understanding that they now have some State Department group chats with all of these international organizations, NGOs, right? Where they're discussing actual how to defeat Trump in 2020. They're discussing basically what I've been saying happened in 2020, which was they implemented their regime change color revolution in the
Mhm.
United States, right? Vis-a-vis the State Department and the Central Intelligence
Absolutely.
Agency. And so all of this evidence is coming out. And so, we need a U.S. attorney. We need the Department of Justice to get run back video footage, right?
We do. We
We need it.
absolutely do.
We absolutely need it. And my guess is it's going to be destroyed if it hasn't already been destroyed before the Department of Justice can do anything about it. But that would identify who dropped these ballots off after the election. And I've been saying for anybody out there listening, if you're with the Department of Justice, that video will show one of two things: that many ballots were dropped off, or that many ballots were not dropped off.
Right.
If they were not dropped off, then Runbeck is 100% complicit, because where did we get the 20,000 extra
Where did they
ballots?
come from? And
Where'd
that's
they
the
come from?
problem. And we've talked
Right.
about this in previous shows.
Right.
It's the origin of the ballot
Yeah.
that help lean whether or not
Right.
they're legitimate ballots,
Where'd they
right?
come
I
from?
mean, where
Right.
did they come from? Did they come
Uh-huh.
from the post office? Did they come
Right.
from MTech?
Uh-huh.
Did they come from an NGO who just
Right.
harvested them up and threw them in a
100%.
Penske truck?
Right.
We don't know.
Right. And then they drive a Penske truck up. And so, Runbeck might be, wholeheartedly innocent. A Penske truck
Yep.
drops off, pulls up, and everybody's probably wearing masks. I would bet you 100% everybody's wearing masks, right?
Yeah, you got it.
And then they have this chain of custody document from the day after the election that has handwriting on it that's completely different than any other handwriting on that document, and in a different colored, which indicates that somebody, fabricated or added to that document after the fact, because we've never been allowed to see the original document.
No.
So,
No.
yeah. So, there's a lot sort of that's been happening that sort of ties into, what we're talking about now with ongoing Maricopa County elections, right? And I think part of this problem is an effort to desensitize Maricopa County voters to significant issues in their elections, so they can just, oh yeah, they're legitimate. They just accidentally put them under a table. It happens.
Well, yeah, desensitize and discourage.
Yeah.
I mean, we cannot underestimate how it discourages people either. You'll have people discouraged from not voting, right? Because they'll feel like their vote doesn't count anyways, which is a huge problem. But then it also discourages people for standing up for their elections, because you also hear this, yeah, well, what else is new?
Right.
Right? Where
Yeah.
people are just like, yeah, I can't do anything about it. I'm
Right.
completely helpless. I just
Right.
got to accept the fact
Right.
that whatever they tell me, whoever they
Mhm.
tell me is elected, is going to be in office, because
Right.
I don't have any control.
Right.
And making the people feel that helpless and discouraged is, it's another tactic. It's
Right.
another form of voter suppression.
Right. Agreed, 100%. And because it discourages them from even participating.
Right.
Right. So, the new form of voter suppression, I suppose. But that's an interesting. We need to get to the bottom of, is states united, or are there former attorneys still actively involved in running our elections at the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors level? Right.
Well, let's see what we can
Yeah.
probe and prod
Yeah.
and see what we can find out, and then we'll report back to you all that watch our podcast.
Mhm.
Another way of discouraging is people don't trust the machines, Brian. I mean, they don't. And
agree.
this isn't a Republican Democrat issue. It really isn't.
Mhm.
I have a close friend in Pennsylvania, and the group he works with, which is auditing elections and upset about elections, is predominantly Democrat and
Right.
Libertarian. I believe he's
Mhm.
maybe one of two Republicans in this team of volunteers, and the rest are all Democrat and Libertarian.
Right.
People are not really trusting the machines, especially
Right.
when you get people who understand the technicalities
Mhm.
of the fact that you can program a machine to do anything,
Right.
right? You've created that machine, you can program
Mhm.
it to do anything. And so there's been a lot of push and a lot of pressure to re-engage the citizens and move into hand counting. And so we've seen a national effort by States United is one of them, and we'll go into more detail about that next week.
Right.
They put out a whole series of reports and PowerPoint presentations about how hand counts will fail.
Right.
So Arizona has been kind of the tip of the spear here, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, other states are getting movement and traction off of
Right.
Arizona, and I'm very happy
Mhm.
that dam is breaking in other states.
Right.
But there's been some boards of supervisors in Arizona that have legitimately wanted to address the will of the people and
Right.
move into hand counts, and they've met some resistance, right?
Yeah, I mean, Cochise County, Mojave County. Cochise County is not likely to ask for hand counts for a very long time because one of their board members is currently being prosecuted by your AG. What's her name again? Stacy
Chris
United?
Mays.
No,
Yeah.
isn't it your AG, Mark Elias? Not Mark Elias.
Right.
What's his name?
Norm Eisen.
Norm Eisen.
Yeah.
That's Arizona's AG is Norm Eisen. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
it's like Mojave County. For example, they just do a study, or somebody did a study on their behalf?
Well, there was a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Ron Gould and another board of supervisor
Uh-huh.
had the majority of the board on board to do a hand count.
Right.
And at the last minute, the county attorneys came in with a letter from the AG
Right.
basically threatening them
Uh-huh.
to arrest them for election interference if they did
Right.
a hand count, stating that
Right.
hand counts are illegal.
Uh-huh.
And so Ron Gould actually sued
Right.
because he wanted that clarity,
Mhm.
and he felt threatened
Right.
by an elected office, like somebody of power in the
Right.
judiciary, right, which would be the AG,
The
prohibiting
executive branch.
executive branch rather,
Right.
prohibiting him
Right.
from being able to govern
Right.
in his position.
Yeah.
He lost that lawsuit this
Yeah.
week,
Well,
but in the scope of things, in
mhm.
order to work against Ron Gould,
Mhm.
Mojave County decided to do an election study
Right.
to see if a hand count in
Mhm.
2024 is feasible.
Well, now the bureaucrats in Mojave County don't want hand counts, do they? They're taking their marching orders from probably States United. Who knows? But they
I
don't
would
want hand
imagine.
counts. They
No,
want to.
no,
They want
no.
to keep their machines.
Absolutely.
They don't want to have to divide the county up by precincts and do individual precinct hand counts. They don't want to do any of that.
Right.
And so didn't they cite studies that say it's too many errors? These people are absolutely insane. Too many errors. What's finding thousands of ballots after the fact?
That's not an error.
No, that's not an error.
That's an administrative mistake. They
That's
were able to fix it.
it's different. Different.
Different.
It's not an error,
Totally
right?
different. Not
Right.
an error.
Yeah. Plus, it was
No.
Maricopa County and not Mojave.
Oh, and it wasn't the election department's
No.
fault. It was an incompetent poll worker who stuck the ballots in the wrong place.
Yeah.
But we're not supposed to blame our poll workers.
Right.
Right.
No, they intentionally blame the poll workers so that they can
Right.
say, "Oh, this is another reason we can't have precinct-based elections because our poll workers are incompetent." Right. And
Right.
so that's
Right.
you don't.
We have it all figured out
Right.
as the bureaucrat
Right.
and the leadership.
Yeah.
We have it all figured out. It's the incompetence of the American people
No,
we have to worry
this is
about.
this is 100% on Scott Jarrett's head. The 2022 election
Absolutely.
is 100% should be on 100% on Scott Jarrett's head.
Yep.
The rampant machine failures in 2022 over
Absolutely.
the top. I am 60 years old. I know I don't look it. Thank you. I'm 60 years old. I have never seen that incompetence in election in my entire life, ever.
Right. Amazing.
I've seen 2020, but 2020 wasn't incompetence. 2020 was outright cheating. I don't think 2020 was incompetence either. I think 2020 was intentional disruptions designed to keep MAGA-type candidates from getting power in Maricopa County
Absolutely.
and having the ability to investigate what actually happened in 2020.
You mean the 2022? You
2022,
don't believe
right.
that was incompetent.
No.
You believe it was intent.
I believe there was a lot of intent behind that entire election to keep people like Abe Hamadeh or Kerry Lake from taking office in Arizona and being able to investigate 2020. Because do you know what Maricopa County's document retention policy is?
22 months.
22 months.
22 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that convenient?
That's convenient.
It's really
Was that-
convenient because before the next officer
Right.
takes possession of the office, they can destroy all the evidence.
Right, all the evidence.
I never
Wipe
thought
it all
about
out.
that till right now,
Right.
but think about it, right?
Right.
So if I run an election and I'm
Yeah.
elected and I run an election, I suppose in the turnover
Mhm.
years, right? Like
Mhm.
24, for
Right.
instance, when he took over for Richer,
Mhm.
he would have some access, except for,
Mhm.
wait, didn't Richer sign an agreement with the Board of Supervisors to
Limiting
not give
his
him
access.
access?
They've denied
Right,
HEAP.
right. They've
They've
denied him
denied HEAP
access.
most access to the
Yep.
election records. In fact, we do know now, don't we, that all public records requests go through the Board of Supervisors,
Yes.
even if they are for the county recorder's
Yes.
records,
That's
right?
my understanding.
So, yeah, that's an
So
issue.
so
Uh-huh.
Mojave County,
Uh-huh.
they did a hand count study, Brian.
Right.
You wanna hear a little bit about
Let,
that?
let's hear about it.
Okay. So, I'm just gonna quote the first part. It says, "On June 5th, 2023, the Mojave County Board of Supervisors directed the Mojave County Elections Department to form a plan to hand count the 2024 elections
Mm-hmm.
and return the plan to the Board of Supervisors for
Uh-huh.
approval." So this is what they're claiming, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
You've been the attorney on hand for multiple hand counts now, right?
Yes.
Like, uh, not not public elections, but private and or
Right.
club elections. So
Right.
you got a good grasp here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
The test deck of 850 ballots had approximately 36 races per ballot. So if you have about 36 races per ballot,
Right.
you're probably looking anywhere between 80 and 120 ballot positions,
Uh-huh.
right? Choices.
Uh-huh.
For approximately 30,600 races. There were 46 race errors that occurred during the tallying process. In an election to rectify any error, election workers would have to retally the votes of each race. The time to retally races was not included in the study time.
How long did it take?
So they
Mm.
are claiming that it took 11 workers,
Right.
8-hour days, 3 8-hour days to count 850 ballots.
Hey, can I make a proposal to Mojave County?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Could Mojave County, I'm making a proposal to you now. Let us have the exact same test deck. Do you wanna set up a hand count?
Oh, I think after reading this report, we have to set up
Yeah.
a hand count. I think we should
Mhm.
mirror this study
100%.
and we should show it to the public.
Right. Okay, so if Mojave County will let us borrow their test deck, do you think we should set up a live feed and do a hand count
Absolutely.
using our method?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
So they are claiming, Brian, just, just, just so the American people can understand this,
Mhm.
that 105,000 ballots would take 875 hours to count.
Huh.
875 hours to count.
That's you know what they're doing though. That's with the same 11 people.
Right. So you're gonna do
Right.
105,000 ballots with 11 people? I mean,
Right.
in what planet do
Right.
they think they really think people are buying this, and here's
Right.
the sad thing, they are,
They are.
right? This study is
Mhm.
part of the States United slide deck that they are going around the
Right.
country sharing with election officials,
Mhm.
and not one election official said, "Wait a minute, we use more than 11 people when we use the machine.
Right.
Why would we only use 11 people
Right.
to count them if we do by hand count?" In Maricopa County,
Mhm.
they hire thousands of workers, right?
Right.
So what are they gonna say? "Oh, all of a sudden we're gonna do our study
Right.
with 11 people?"
Yeah.
But even so, their study with doing 850 ballots, that's
Mhm.
very doable by 11 people. Very doable.
And that's why I think that Mojave County Board of Supervisors, if you are listening, we would like to borrow your test deck, the same test deck that your own county bureaucrats use to conduct their study on your behalf. And I'm betting, not really a betting man, but I'm willing to bet on this because I've seen our people do hand counts and teach hand counts, and they've been doing it for a long time. I am betting that we will prove your people wrong.
100%. And I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
And if Mojave County is willing to give us that test deck, we will do just that. And if Mojave County isn't willing to give us their test deck, I think we still need to show the people that we can do this.
I agree 100%.
You know, this is their other claim. You ready?
Mhm.
It says 105,000 ballots will take 3 minutes a ballot for a total of 315,000 minutes. 315,000 minutes divided by 60 minutes makes hours.
Mhm.
5,250 hours. That is 657 days. They're claiming it would take a team 657 days to count 105,000 ballots.
Team of 11.
A team of 7.
7. Wow.
Why in the world would you even put that in your study?
You know, did Mojave County's attorneys catch that little trick
You know, I
when they
don't
were
know.
arguing in court? Because that's absolute nonsense. Yeah, it might take that many man hours, but all that tells you is how many people you need to hire to be able to do it in a timely fashion.
Well, then they come back.
Right.
They come
Yeah.
back and they say 313 days divided by 13 days, allowing for tally, will give us 25 groups. So we
Uh-huh.
could do 25 groups. Those 25 groups would be 175 people, and 175 people would cost $254,800. So it's interesting how they're willing to all of a sudden talk about the replication
Mhm.
of need of bodies when they
Yeah.
want to talk about how expensive it is.
Hey, Mojave County, how much do you spend for your tabulators on an annual basis? How much do you spend for all of the software, all of the equipment, all of the training of your employees with respect to tabulators each and every year, right? How many people do you have running your elections each cycle in
Right.
Mojave County?
Right.
What's the total number? Let's do a comparison. Let's do a dollar for dollar comparison of what that would cost. And maybe what we should do is do a PRR and get Mojave County's total cost for equipment training and all of that stuff and break it down, because we know they're using the machines. And we can use their own numbers to estimate what it would cost dollar for donut. You want to do that, Chris? You're pretty good at stuff like that, aren't you? Let's do it.
Yeah,
Chris Chris is on board.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Mark Cook
Uh-huh.
with Hand Count Roadshow,
Yeah.
he was really involved in helping we the people come up with our hand count method
Mhm.
and get it streamlined and
Right.
execute it.
Right.
What I believe is pretty darn perfectly.
Yeah.
Chain of custody and all.
Uh-huh.
And he worked with us, and we did many elections. So we time studied those elections. We've done something similar.
Mhm.
And when we time studied those, we came up with certain variables.
Right.
And Hand Count Roadshow,
Mhm.
if you go on Hand Count Roadshow, let me pull it up right here. And under Get Educated, so handcountroadshow.org,
Right.
and then you go to Get Educated,
Right.
the very top selection on the drop-down menu is Accountable Hand Count Tabulation Method. This is the We
Mhm.
the People and Hand Count Roadshow hand count method. There is a calculator
Mhm.
on that page, and that calculator will allow you to put in how many ballot positions,
Right.
how many estimated ballots,
Uh-huh.
how long you want to do it in.
Right.
It will estimate for you the total cost of the election. It will estimate for you how many people you need to
Right.
execute the election and how
Right.
many man hours it will take.
Huh.
So, based on Mark Cook's calculator, if we assume there were 120 ballot positions,
Right.
okay, and that the choosable choices were 36, as they said in their study, and we have 11 workers
Mhm.
using the accountable method, it says that we can count those 850 ballots with those 11 people, not all of them being fully hands-on.
Uh-huh.
We could do the whole thing in 8 hours
Right.
using that calculator.
Let's do it.
So yeah, I mean, my thing is maybe the calculator's not 100% accurate,
Right.
right? Maybe it's not, but 8 hours is a far cry from 24 hours, don't you think?
100%. Especially as you look at the numbers.
Absolutely.
And
Okay,
And
Steve, go ahead and go to Get Educated and then Accountable right underneath on the drop down. And then you're going to scroll down once that loads. It's a little bit slow loading. So go ahead, Brian, while it's loading.
real quick, just want to throw a shout out to Mark Cook. You can find him on Twitter at Patriot Mark, right?
Yes, at Patriot Mark.
At Patriot Mark.
So that's a video that walks through the entire hand count process for Accountable. And if you scroll on down, nope, that's the full process document, signing up right there. There's your calculator to the far left. And then there are sample ballot packs that came from an actual Texas election. And there's all the different documents, training materials, all the things you need to learn more about Accountable. But scroll on up just a bit, Steve. Click on that calculator if you would, please.
And I tell you what, if Mojave County doesn't want to play, which they should want to play, yeah, right. Mojave County should be interested in the truth and not just a bunch of bureaucrats wanting to continue feeding their beast. And allow us to use the same test deck. I'm sure we can get a test deck somewhere. Maybe Patriot Mark can get a test deck.
I am absolutely sure we can get an 850 ballot test deck, and we want to make sure it has at least 36 options with multiple ballot choices. Here's the other interesting thing, and we're just kind of brainstorming this right now on the air. So, they don't really talk about what they do, like the whole chain of custody in this study. I mean, they're just talking purely hand count. So, were these pre-batched? Or did they include the batching time in their 24 hours?
Well, see, now in
all of those factors, right?
In our study, that includes all of those factors, doesn't it? Batching them out, getting them sent out to the tables for counters.
Taking ballot images, pre and post ballot images, distributing to the tables, batching them, labeling them. So I'm just kind of curious. I mean, do you think, Brian, if we were to do this, we should just start from the batches being done, or let's do this and show the whole process? I mean, what are your thoughts here?
No, I would say that we do the whole process.
I think we have to. Yeah,
I think to be honest, we have to. We're not sure because did they videotape theirs?
No.
Of course not.
At least not that they provided publicly.
And so, with that, we can't really tell what, what they did in totality. But I think if we do it, we have to use the entirety of our process, which includes batching them out, sending them to the tables, and doing the whole thing. And the whole thing can be videotaped, and people can watch it live stream it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to do this.
It'd be kind of boring, but
if these people are going to
educational anyway.
Go around, they're going to go around and they're going to try and debunk the legitimacy of hand counts.
Right.
And I mean, they're working with big groups like States United. It was fascinating to me that they cite this report in their States United report, and Shasta County, California, and a bunch of other counties.
That's why States United is completely buried in Arizona. I think they were buried in Arizona. If you look at Stephen Richer served as wasn't he the head of the statewide County Recorders Association?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so, Stephen Richer, we know, was a tool of States United, 100%. He invited them into Maricopa County elections. And I guarantee you that he pushed them into all of the other counties, and that they're in the other counties, and that they are probably, States United is the bridge between your leftist attorney general and the county election bureaucracy, right? And that's what's taking place.
Steve, I'm gonna send you a document. It's a PDF if you can get that pulled up. This is the States United PDF. We need to spend, I think, a lot of time on this and really dissect it in a future episode. I don't want to do that here tonight.
Yeah.
But what I do want to do is pull up a very specific page
Mhm.
because I do find it interesting. Just like you said, State United is very embedded in Arizona. I mean, Sambo Duel,
Yeah.
right? She's a staple of Arizona.
Uh-huh.
Worked for the highest offices of the state of Arizona,
Right.
from the Attorney General's office to the Secretary of
Uh-huh.
State's office to the governor's office.
Yep.
And she was a real big player, wasn't she, Brian,
Yeah.
in State United? Is that
100
correct?
100%. And in, the elections of 2022.
So let me pull that up, and I will tell you what page to go to, Steve, because I think it's a good way to kind of close out this conversation.
Mhm.
But yeah, we definitely do. We
Yeah.
definitely need to recreate this. So,
Mhm.
um, do we put what are your thoughts? And we're brainstorming here in front of the people. Do we
Mhm.
put in a public records request? See if they'll give us that test stack?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get that out, tomorrow morning, first thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I will take care of that.
And then, we can have people that know people, call people, right?
Go all the way to the last page of that PDF, if you would, Steve, and pull it on up
People,
for me.
you like that, Chris? We have people who know people call people.
Yes, if you
It
know
happens all the
people
time, right?
and you got peeps,
Right.
and you
Yeah.
call those peeps and they call their peeps, and one of them knows somebody in Mojave
Right.
County that will turn
Right.
over copies
Right.
of those test decks.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I think we should invite Mojave County to our test.
I think so. Why
I
not?
I think Steve
Yeah.
recommended that we invite lots of these people that are trying to debunk
Right.
elections, right?
Uh-huh.
He said, let's invite Mojave recorders,
Right.
supervisors.
Yeah, why not?
Um,
Why not?
yeah, I mean, I don't know how many will
That
show
or
up.
if we live feed it, we can, invite them all to sit in a movie theater for 8 hours and eat popcorn.
There you go.
Right. And then
There you go.
they could hobnob and wheel and deal and do whatever it is they do.
Okay, can you pull that
Right.
PDF up? I'm ready.
Hmm.
So I got a new one for you.
States
Who is the
United
elections
Democracy.
group, Brian? We haven't looked into them.
The elections group.
Yeah, who's behind the elections group? So anybody out
Isn't
there, if you want to
isn't
throw me some information.
the elections group. I think I
Yeah.
recently had a conversation with somebody about the elections group. Isn't um I might be wrong about this, but I think maybe Susan Spalding's on the board or something. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't, but we're going to find out. Last page of that document, please, Steve. Thank you.
So I don't know. Yeah, we'll find out.
So States United and the elections group put this document together.
Mhm.
I'm going to share this with our viewers next week, and we'll bring some more information. Maybe we'll have some information
Yeah.
about the elections group. Okay, go ahead and scroll up slightly, Steve. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, stop there. It says inaccuracy. Real world examples show that full hand counts are less accurate than machine tabulation. It cites Nye County, Nevada, saying they had a 25% error rate. Shows Mojave County
No, I can't
having
Nevada.
high error rate. In their 850 ballot study, people had sloppy handwriting, they made mistakes. What is this thing? What method are they using, Brian, that would require that they retally the entire race when there's an error? Our system allows for immediate error finding and correction, doesn't it?
100%.
Okay. And then Tripp County, South Dakota, 75 ballots went missing. And that never happens when you use tabulators, right?
Oh yeah, never happens when you use tabulator.
Tabulators to
Maricopa
secure the
County.
ballots, right?
Hey, yeah, you need to update your report, States United, so that you can include Maricopa County. When tabulators are used, they mysteriously find thousands of ballots lurking under desks or in warehouses.
Okay, now Steve's moving up for me on this one. Go ahead up to the top of that page. Go ahead up. Up. Okay, delays. So we have errors and then we have delays. Guess what they cite for delays? Mojave County,
Oh, of course.
Cobb County, Georgia, Shasta County, California, and then Esmeralda County, Nevada. Delays. Okay, go ahead and scroll up one more time, Steve. And these are the appendixes.
Right.
complexity and cost. What's right on top?
Mojave
It's going to
County.
cost $1 million to count little old Mojave County if you do it by hand.
Isn't Mojave
What?
County a conservative county?
It's all red.
How
But-
how is States United so embedded in their elections department?
Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you. And this is coming from Shelby Bush, chairman of We the People.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm a Republican by my registration,
Yeah.
but I am very nonpartisan when it comes to our elections. And what I'm
Uh-huh.
going to tell you here, Brian, might shock people. I doubt it. There are actually people who call themselves Republicans
Uh-huh.
who are not conservative.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's going to blow people's minds. You can take that down now,
Right.
Steve.
Right. Okay, so Pahrump, that's interesting. Nye County.
Yeah.
Nye County. I used to have a number of cases there when I worked for when I worked for a big law firm doing a lot of product litigation stuff. I used to have to go to Nye County all the time, namely the city of Pahrump, right? It's very interesting.
Pahrump?
Right, Pahrump. It's just outside of Vegas. And so
Okay.
that's where all the taxi drivers say, "Hey, you want to go over the hump to Pahrump?" And that's where all the legalized prostitution is and stuff, right?
That's
And so I used to
awesome.
have to go out there for cases. And as you drive around Pahrump, Nevada, you see just this flat, completely cleared land, huge
Mhm.
lot with a mobile home in the center, right? No vegetation at all. Big fences with concertina wire around them, and just dogs everywhere, right? It's like that's where people go to hide.
Interesting.
Right. And so try getting into my place, buddy. You've got a 50-yard, either way you go, you got 50 yards you got to cross, you got a whole bunch of dogs. They're not very friendly looking dogs.
So that's where you go when you want to go off grid.
When
Maybe
you- yeah, when you
you're
wanna
running
go
from
off grid.
something or
So
someone.
Pahrump is a fairly interesting place,
Neat. Yeah.
to be. It's some beautiful some beautiful country in the area, though. But
You know what's interesting about Nye County?
yeah,
I actually talked to the Nye County, Nevada County
Uh-huh.
recorder.
uh-huh.
His Secretary of State,
Yeah,
just like here, and his Attorney General
Uh-huh.
went after him. They tried to sue him for wanting
Yeah.
to do the hand count.
yeah,
And he didn't even do a complete hand count. He
Uh-huh.
just wanted to do a hand count audit.
right.
And they went after him the same year they went after Cochise and Mojave.
Uh-huh.
He succeeded in Nevada.
Cool.
And he moved forward with his
Right.
audit. And it's interesting how they say there was a 25% error rate. And the Nye County clerk estimated a 25% error rate on the first day of the attempted 2022 hand count. But the interesting thing is in my conversations with the recorder or the
Uh-huh.
clerk out there in Nye County, he actually insisted post that hand count that he still believed that
Mhm.
when they were done with the hand count, there was a discrepancy plus or minus. It was a small amount of ballots, right? But there was a plus or minus
Uh-huh.
error rate.
Right.
The hand count,
Mhm.
shocking people, more accurate than
Right.
the tabulators.
Right.
He stood firm on that.
Uh-huh.
He actually gave a very good report.
Uh-huh.
He wasn't completely impressed with the method that they used, if I
Right.
remember correctly. It felt
Mhm.
like a better method would give a better
Mhm.
result. But ultimately, he said that votes were able to count that never would have got counted had they
Right.
used the tabulators, because the tabulators didn't pick up certain things
Right.
that you can pick up in a hand count.
Yeah.
And it was far more accurate.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I think Tonopah is actually the county seat. Tonopah in Nye County.
Okay.
And so it's not, I don't think it's Pahrump, but Tonopah's not Pahrump. But, Tonopah's a nice place. I like Tonopah.
We have a Tonopah, Arizona.
Do we?
We do. Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people get confused about Nye County. A lot of people think it's part of Arizona, but it's not.
Yeah.
Nye County is, and Tonopah's in, I guess you say Arizona. There's also one in.
Yeah. I actually lived in
yeah.
Tonopah when I was really,
Yeah.
really small.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
the Tonopah people are really mad at Clint Hickman.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have anything to do with elections.
Uh-huh.
They don't like the way he handles his business
Right.
and what they've done out there with their chicken farms. But
Yeah.
Tonopah is it's still in Maricopa County.
Uh-huh.
And if you head west and you're
Mhm.
heading towards California on the I-10,
Mm-hmm.
it's the little town next to the nuclear plant, Palo Verde.
Oh,
Yeah.
great place to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, it's just like the audit. I mean, look what we did during the audit. We counted millions of ballots 3 ways,
Right.
right?
Right.
We tabulated 2 races on the ballots, and, we then counted each ballot to make sure, that we had the ballots using the machines, right? And
Right.
then we used weight to count the total number of ballots, and, the numbers were all fairly close. And
Yeah.
so, you know, the there are a lot of ways, that we can gain control of our elections and get citizen participation back into our elections, whether they be direct hand counts in the first instance or whether they be, hand count audit.
Well, and that's
What's
an
the problem with
interesting
that?
point, the hand count audit thing.
Mhm.
I was talking to an election integrity guy out in Texas, and he said, we have hand count audits here
Mhm.
in Arizona. We have a statute that requires like a sample hand count that's supposed to test the machines. The problem with that is that it's still a very controlled
Right.
setup in that it's not really given to the citizen,
Right.
right?
Right.
Uh, I'm a big
Mhm.
proponent of transparency. I think the ballot images should be made public.
Oh,
I think
100%.
people should be able to sit around and
Right.
have count parties and
Why
audit
not?
parties, and
Why not?
that's a good question. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
They come up with a lot of excuses, none of
Right.
which I don't think are valid.
Yeah. Well, audits in elections, what do they call them? What's the formal name? They're called risk limiting audits.
Right, risk limiting
What are
audits. There you
they
go.
limiting risk of?
A risk of exposure that they have
And
bad
they're limiting
results.
risk. They're limiting risk that anything will
Yes.
be found that
Right.
will require a more substantial and in-depth look at
Right.
what's taking place.
Right.
And so, risk limiting audits, by their very name, are they real audits, right? An audit's designed to find, flaws in a system, designed to find errors in a system, designed to find corruption in a system. If you intentionally limit those audits such that they will never find any of those things audits are typically used to find, then is it really an audit at all?
No.
Yeah. And so getting
No.
back to Chris Mays real quick, because, as part of the Cochise County litigation involving their efforts to have a hand count, which were blocked by the court. And then, of course, it was moved up on appeal. And the appellate court, was very clear. The language they used in their order, it said, if machines are used, which is what the statute says.
That's correct.
If a county uses machines, this is how they will audit the election.
That's correct.
If a county uses machines, there is absolutely nothing in Arizona law that compels counties to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on machines and training and software and all of this other stuff to count their ballots. This is all complete push by States United to ensure that we continue to use these machines in our system. And now we know from a show a couple weeks ago, don't we?
Yes.
That now what was Dominion, what do they call it? Oh, Patriot election systems or something like that.
Liberty vote.
Liberty vote.
Liberty
right?
vote.
Liberty
So
vote.
we're not going to take Dominion over you anymore. We're going to give
Right.
you liberty to vote.
Yeah, liberty vote.
We're just going to control how that vote is counted.
Right.
Are you
Right.
okay with that, Brian?
No. Yeah, but they also also own the the software that controls who gets to vote. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
the problem. That's
So-
the big problem.
Mojave
Yeah.
ruled against Ron Gould
Uh-huh.
this week. And we'll get into that, I think,
Uh-huh.
hopefully in more detail next week.
They're going to appeal.
Well, this is the appellate court, I believe.
Oh, okay.
The Superior Court.
Yeah.
It's the Superior Court.
Okay.
It went up there, and they ruled that he wasn't threatened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Holy advisory stuff. Long story short, they said that he wasn't contesting. So here's what it said. When contesting the constitutionality of a criminal statute,
Mhm.
quote, it it is not necessary that the plaintiff first expose himself to actual arrest or prosecution to be entitled to challenge statutes that he claims deter the exercise of his constitutional rights. 'Cause he was arguing that he's being threatened against having a hand count, right?
Right.
And so they cite Babbitt. It's a Supreme Court ruling, and they say basically the constitutionality of city ordinance and demonstrated a real threat of being prosecuted for violating that ordinance, rendering this case justiciable. As explained above, Gold has neither challenged the validity of any election statute nor demonstrated a real non-speculative threat of prosecution. For these reasons, the Superior Court, it's the Superior Court,
Right.
did not, oh no, this is, appellate court,
No,
saying the
Superior Court.
Superior Court did not err in
Oh,
granting
okay.
the AG's motion to dismiss.
All right.
Long story short, they are refusing to
Uh-huh.
rule on whether he can do a hand
Yeah.
count or not.
Yeah.
And that's been the issue. So, Brian, what's it going to take? It's going to take them, against threat of prosecution and everything, just making a decision. A board
Right.
is going to have to just make a decision and
Just
say,
do it.
we're doing a hand count,
Just do it.
and then let the courts enter. I don't
Yeah.
see any other way we're going to get a ruling.
Well, let's do a study. Okay, so we're confirmed on that before we wrapped up our show.
Yes.
We will do a hand count. If Mojave County will let us use their test deck, we would be more than happy to try to replicate their hand count and show them, the error in their own elections department ways. And we're putting ourselves on the line doing that, right?
Yeah, I think we should. And by the way,
Yeah.
correction of fact, this ruling came in from the Division 2 of the Court of
Okay.
Appeals. So it was the appellate court.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so we will work on getting that, and we will bring you more information on when we plan to do that, and whether or not Mojave County will cooperate with us and let us use our test deck. If not, we'll get a test deck somewhere else, and we'll make that happen.
Yeah. We'll get a test deck
Uh-huh.
that most replicate
Right.
what according to their own
Uh-huh.
study they used.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's do
Right.
it. So
Well,
we'll start
and-
with Mojave
And
County, and we'll see what
I
happens.
suggest is we have two teams do it, right? One can start counting the ballots, and then as soon as they're done processing, batches, we can move the batches to a second team, and they can do it independently, right, of each other. No communication, no cooperation with each other, and we can compare their numbers at the end. Just like we're
So
doing
you're saying do a parallel study
a parallel study.
to
Yeah.
also show
Right.
that results are duplicatable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on the record, Steve, to talk. Add the results. We could do
Well,
something like that.
I mean, but then that's not. Basically what I'm suggesting is this: for any study to be valid, it has to be repeatable. If we do
Right.
two teams, right, and say we divide into batches of 50, Team A finishes their first batch, we move it to Team B,
And then make
And
sure
then
that
we
the
have-
results of both teams
right?
match.
And then we have a study that is replicated. Does that make sense?
Right, so they can't say we pulled anything funny in the
Right.
first study. We duplicate it.
What do
Yeah.
you think about that, Chris? Is
Yeah.
that doable?
I think
Yeah, Chris
I think
thinks that's
we'll work
doable.
out all the details. We'll report back to you.
Right.
But I love this idea.
Okay.
I think what Steve is saying, and we could do it the way you're
Right.
saying, and the way he's saying is he's saying
Uh-huh.
if we have half a team do half and another team do half,
Right. Then they
and
can
then
simply
add the
swap.
times together,
Right.
and then swap.
Yeah.
We could do it that way too, and
Right.
it would probably go quicker. So, but
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. We'll work out all the details. We'll report back, but we
Well,
are going to make sure
yeah,
that all of the
I think-
factors used here are
Yeah,
aligned.
I think though the making it go quicker is part of the issue though, is because if we have a team the same size as their team
Mhm.
that's doing the same number of ballots their team was doing,
Right.
then we can compare, dollars for donuts.
Right.
How long did it take our team versus how long did it take their team? And what was their, if there's a significant difference in the total time, what was their team doing?
Right.
But then at the same time, if we're running a duplicate study, we can compare the times from both studies.
And they won't be exact either.
Right. We can compare the times from both studies. We can compare the vote totals from both independent studies. we're running one study and then we're running another study at the same time. We can compare them, and for any science experiments to be, to be valid, it's got to be replicable, right?
Right. Well, I always say that,
Right.
especially about data and findings.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if your work, and there's certain
Mhm.
people out there that like to push a lot of work out and election
Yeah.
integrity, but it's like
Yeah.
if I can't take what you've
Mhm.
done and replicate it, then it's not valid.
100%.
It has to be duplicatable. It has to be replicatable. It
Right.
has to be. You have to be able to
Right.
do it. So.
Well,
Okay, well, we'll figure out the details and we'll
Yeah.
get back with you. And this ought to be a lot of
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
stay tuned.
Any last words?
Uh, Not really.
Okay.
I'm actually, I said so much tonight, I'm at a loss for words.
I don't
How
know.
about you?
I I don't know. I don't have any last words. Anybody any last words for me? No.
Steve? Got any last words?
Wait, what? Check my phone. Somebody from the studio audience said, "Check
Is
my
is that
phone."
is that the last word?
Let's see here. Oh, yeah, news story. Chris, Chris Mays. Oh, that's her name, isn't it?
What did Chris Mays do? What's going on with Chris
Arizona
Mays?
breaking. Let's see here.
All right, we got breaking news.
AZ breaking news. Was Attorney General Chris Mays bribed $200,000 by States United to prosecute the 2020 alternate election? This is I guess, something being reported by Christina Bobb.
Oh.
And so I don't know. I'm not casting any aspersions or throwing anything out, but
But we have to
apparently,
validate the information.
right?
Yeah.
And we'll look into it. But apparently, Christina Bobb is now saying that um, that States United gave Mays a couple hundred grand. And I think what this is States United was, we believe, getting money from the who? Do you know?
Well, USAID.
Well, the United States Department
Yeah.
of State,
Yeah.
where the founder of States United actually used to be a diplomat, right?
Yes.
And then we know all the information coming out about the State Department using USAID and all of these NGOs
Right.
to foment a color revolution in the United States, much like they did in the Ukraine under Barack Obama. And so, this will be y'all ought to pay attention to this and look at it closely. It's pretty interesting. And so I'm looking at something that says, this whistleblower filing by Christina Bobb documents that the Arizona prosecutions of Trump electors et al. Were part of the national scheme by the Biden regime. And so I guess they're looking at it as an actual conspiracy.
So, according to AI,
Mhm.
I just Googled it. It says new allegations show that Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays received financial support from the
Oh.
Democrat Attorney General Association, which is
Yeah.
linked to the nonprofit States United Democracy Center,
Uh-huh.
raising concerns about a conflict of interest in her prosecution of individuals involved in the
Right.
2020 alternate electors.
Right.
Specifically, DAGA made payments totaling $200,000 to Mays's legal fund after the 2022 election,
Oh,
long
wow.
after her campaign ended and while she was
Oh.
developing the criminal cases against the alternate electors.
Well, and that's what people were saying long before, that States United and the States Department were funneling her money to, we're funneling money to States United to do all of this alleged free legal work on
Yep.
behalf of the AG to be able to prosecute the alternate elector. So interesting to see, folks. Pay
Yeah,
attention.
see how
Pay
that
attention.
unfolds.
Pay attention in the state of Arizona, because you got some issues in your state.
Oh, I do have a final word.
Mhm.
Happy birthday, U.S. Marine Corps.
Oh, happy birthday, U.S. Marine Corps.
250 years, and thank you
Mhm.
to all the Marines who have served our country.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
a noble and honorable thing, and we're proud of our longstanding
Right.
Marine Corps.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
And
thank
with that,
you.
peace.
God bless.